Welcome back to Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show. And welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you here. Family, friend, listeners all around this planet we call home. Glad to have you listen to this show. Remember, go to YouTube, say you like the show, say subscribe, follow, tell friends, family, all that stuff. And now that we got the business part of this podcast out of the way, let's move back onto it. So, we were leaving off last time, Ben, here on something that was kind of important. I don't know if, some people would say it's important, but I'm not sure you would think it. I'm pretty sure you would probably think it's important. Let's talk about how you found your wife.
You bet. So I talked about attending Snow College. I attended Snow College for a year, left for a mission, came back, and then I went for another year. Well, the first year that I was at Snow College, I was friends with a girl named Leslie Tracy. And anyway, I hadn't seen her since I left on my mission. I came back and I had heard she was going to be visiting Snow College. And so I said, I want to go visit her. And I heard her little sister was attending Snow College. Hadn't met her little sister, but I heard she was there. And so I went to visit Leslie Tracy at her little sister's apartment, who happens to be Jody Tracy, who's now my wife. And anyway, I went over there and was visiting with Leslie and realized I kind of liked her little sister. And it progressed fairly quickly to where we decided we liked each other. The problem was I was dating somebody at the time, so that kind of had to end. And then Jody and I started dating. Jody did not want to get married or date or any of those things. And so after we'd been dating several months, school ended, and before school ended, she broke up. She broke up before school ended. About a week later, she's like, okay, we really should give this a go. Let's do it. So we did, and then school ended, and it's summertime, and I went up to Salem and was working construction for the summer, and she went back. She was from Monticello, and she went back to Monticello. She was working for Canyonlands National Park. And she goes back and is working for Canyonlands. She broke up with me again. She's like, no, this just isn't going to work. We're too far away. It's not going to work. Nothing's going to, So she broke up with me again. And anyway, that one. But she's like, I don't want anything to change. And she still razzes me about this. But I made the comment. I'm like, wait, nothing's going to change. I'm like, well, then I don't acknowledge the breakup. The breakup didn't happen then if nothing changed. And she's like, no, we're broke up. I'm like, okay, you can say whatever you want. But anyway, and in the end, we ended up, of course, getting back together. And she left for, that August, she left for London. And she went and did a semester abroad in London, studied with BYU London out there. And so she was gone for 4 months. She came back. So I had to spend a semester at the University of Utah. She had spent a semester in London. And she came back, attended the University of Utah for a semester. We got married that next summer, and it's history from there. So six kids later, and here we are.
Wow. All from breaking up a couple of times.
Couple of breakups, absolutely. One of them wasn't acknowledged, so I don't know if it's one breakup or two. It's one to me, two to her.
Half. It's 1.5.
Right.
An acknowledged one isn't, and then an unacknowledged is a half.
You bet.
I think. I don't know. I don't know the rules on all that stuff. Wow. And then all of a sudden it just clicked and fell in place, and it was like, yeah, I guess we should get married. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everything just worked out. I mean, honestly, like meeting her family, like her mom and dad, I got just along with them so well from day one. I already knew one of her older sisters, Leslie. I already talked about that. And as I met all the other family members, they just were just good people. They grew up very small town. They were actually about 15 miles or so out of Monticello, a little town called Eastland. Her dad was drilled water wells. Her mom was a school teacher, and they are just a really good, kind, humble family. And from day one, it just felt right and has always felt right.
And she got a degree in literature or something like that, right?
English, yep.
Okay, yeah. There was something there. I know, because we were talked at, what were we talking over at, the open house or whatever you want to call on when Simon was going on his
Oh,
mission.
sure.
So, she said she had a degree, and that's where it was.
Yep.
It was she had a degree in something like that. I was like, I know it had to do with English somehow.
Yeah, that's it.
The English language. Well, cool. So now you're married, and then you go off to Marquette.
Went to Marquette, 4 years of dental school.
Okay, 4. Okay, I was going to ask you how long is dental school?
4
Okay.
years. The first year we were there, we didn't have any children. It was just the two of us. My wife got a job working at the corporate headquarters at Kohl's, the department store Kohl's, back in Wisconsin. She worked there for a year. Then we had our first child. After we had the first baby, she started, and that's Reed. After he was born, she quit at Kohl's, and she started. She was watching a baby at our house, doing daycare just at our house, and she did that until we moved down to Iowa after that. But we had one more baby in Wisconsin. About 9 months or so before we left, we had our second child there, and made it through dental school okay. Dental school was just, we look back, it was just one of the highlights of our life, starting a family, getting to know each other. We moved away from our families in Utah, moved to Wisconsin where we did not know a single person. And so it was just a really good opportunity for my wife and I to get to know each other and really fall in love with each other, and understand that we can and need to and should rely on each other, and that we found out we were a pretty good match. So
Go through some of the hard times to enjoy some of the good times.
For sure.
That's the rewards.
Yep. Those times in Wisconsin, we tell our kids, we're like, when we were in school, Marquette, those years were like, our income was negative $70,000 a year when we lived in Wisconsin. Like, every penny you're scrimping and trying, and it was wonderful. Like, such an awesome opportunity to, like I said, just rely on each other. That really was the key there, to learn to rely on each other, and it made such a difference to our marriage and our life.
Amazing. That's so cool. The sorry about that. People always say things like, "Oh, if I had a lot of money." Well, having a lot of money is nice, but it's not everything, people.
No way. No way.
It's you find the best times were when you had, like you said, negative 70,000. Wait a second, how did you live on negative 70,000?
Lots of student loans.
Still paying on those?
Fortunately, we've taken care of those. But
those will hang on forever. Too.
Yes, they can.
Some people still got them 30 years later.
Yes, they do.
Oh, why would you do that, people? Ugh.
Yep.
But, if you're going to do it, you got to do it like that. But you said Iowa. You went to Iowa. What was Iowa?
So when we graduated dental school, we were kind of pondering what we wanted to do, and we found this opportunity down in the dental practice I worked at was actually in Illinois. We lived on the Iowa side of the river, so we were right on the Mississippi.
Okay.
And we met with so it was a rural health clinic. They had two dental offices and 2 medical offices, I believe. Anyway, whatever it was, they added a third dental office while I was with them. But it was a tiny little town, 800 people. Stronghurst, Illinois was the name of the town. And, corn and soybean farmers and then a lot of manufacturing was in the area as well. But we visited the area, and the director of the clinic came up and met with us, and we just fell in love with it. And the location was fantastic. If you're a member of our church, it was near Nauvoo. Nauvoo doesn't mean anything to anybody unless you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But it was about 40 miles north of Nauvoo and Carthage. And so we're like, you know what? The location is neat and fun, and we have 2 little kids. What do we have to lose? Like, let's go work for this clinic. And we did. And it was another one of the huge blessings in our life. It was just, the people we worked with were so good, and so kind. And the clinic, I just learned so much because it was a rural health clinic. They work on a sliding scale. And so I think they paid $35 or $25 or something when they would come in, and I could do whatever dental work I wanted. And so people would come in, they're like, man, can I get a root canal on that tooth? Is it going to work? And I'm like, who cares? Let's try it. And if it doesn't, we can take the tooth out or do what we need to do, but it's $25. And if it doesn't work, I'll take it out for nothing. And so I just got so much experience doing things that I would have never had the opportunity to do otherwise, because it didn't cost much for people to do stuff.
Yeah,
so.
like conveyor belt stuff, man. Come on through.
Yep.
Next.
Yep.
Next. Wow. That's like you say, that's just the experience alone right there is amazing. And how long were you there in that?
We were there just over 2 years. And we had one more child while we were there. We had our third there, Roger. And he was born not like 6 months, 5 months, something before we moved. So he was born down there, and but yeah, two really good years in Iowa.
And being able to live in that area and go and seeing all the church historical stuff, and hey, let's go take a trip to this place now and spend the day looking at Carthage. Let's go listen.
It was fun.
Not bad at all.
We were in the Nauvoo stake, and so we would have stake conferences, and I mean, it was like a general conference, a mini general conference, multiple general authorities always, and they were constantly visiting even when it wasn't off. And there was one time where our stake was always, or our ward, we always had to take turns at the Nauvoo pageant to be security and parking people, and just volunteer to help it run. And I went down there as a security one time. I got assigned security, and they kept going through, and they kept saying, okay, we need somebody to be backstage. I'm like, I'll do it. Nope. Hold on a minute. And I volunteered a couple other times. They're like, no. And in the end, they said, okay, come with us. And I follow them, and they had a guy from church security. He's like, hey, do you know how to drive a golf cart? I said, well, yeah, I know how to drive a golf cart. Sure. He's like, if you were able to spend some one-on-one time with one of the 12 apostles, what questions would you ask? I'm like, this is a weird question. I'm like, I don't know. Like, how's your family? What's going on? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, okay, follow me. He takes me back, and he's like, hey, this is your golf cart. We need you to go pick up Elder Scott, and you're going to be with him from now until 11 o'clock at night. And just like, man, no way could have I ever had that opportunity living anywhere else to be able to, be the personal assistant for 6 hours to one of the 12 apostles. That was a pretty awesome experience. Yeah,
because I understand, being in showbiz, I understand the question perfectly. Because they didn't want you going, oh, I'd ask them if they've seen this, if they met the,
Right.
No. It's like being backstage with all these performers, the hundreds of performers I've been backstage and spent time with. It's their time to be a human being,
right.
Normal human being, and until they walk out through that curtain, then they have to put on their show.
Yep.
Just leave them alone, let them just be a human being, and It's very simple to do, but not being starstruck. Not that 12 apostles are stars, but
well, it depends on what circles you run around in.
but you don't treat them like they're rock and roll stars,
sure.
type of things. That's not what it's all about. And so the question they asked, I understand that perfectly, and why he asked you the way he did. So that was cool. Got to spend the time and just be with them, and a lot of times they'll direct the conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
If they want to talk about it, they'll start telling you things and ask you questions, and you can ask questions back.
Absolutely. I don't know that I made much of an impression on him, because I'd been spending a lot of the evening with him, and after the pageant ended, he was shaking everybody's hands for like an hour and a half. He stood there shaking hands, and probably 4 or 5 times he'd be shaking hands, and he'd turn to me and shake his hands. He's like, I'm Elder Scott. Nice to meet you. What's your name? I'm like, I'm Ben. I'm your ride. He's like, that's right. Thank you for being my ride, and he'd go. And then 20 minutes later, again, he'd shake my hand. I'm Elder Scott. What's your name?
They meet how many people a day?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Meeting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people a day. Huh? So,
oh, yeah.
What a life. They can have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can have that life. So then after you left Iowa, the Illinois, Iowa area.
Here we are. Enterprise.
Oh, you came directly to
Enterprise
Enterprise?
was the next move, yeah, and
Wow.
it was interesting how we ended up here.
Okay, that's the question. Yeah.
I'll run you through the fairly quick version of it, but
Okay.
we started looking for dental practices probably about a year after we had been in Illinois or Iowa, and I had signed a 2-year contract with them, and I had no intention of breaking that contract. And so we kind of started looking a year in, and we found some great practices. We found one in Grace, Idaho, and kind of started talks with this guy to possibly buy his practice. And he had a major heart attack and ended up having to have a heart transplant and couldn't practice dentistry anymore. And they ended up having to sell the practice immediately to get rid of it. So, okay, Grace, Idaho's off, no big deal. So then we found a practice in Monticello, Utah, and really liked it. Looked at it, kind of like, okay, this will work. And the guy started putting together numbers and almost immediately got diagnosed stage 4 cancer, couldn't practice anymore, died not long after. And then he obviously they ended up having to sell the practice right away. Okay. And we found another practice in Colorado. I can't remember the name of the town right now, but it's a little bit south of Grand Junction, about 40 miles south of Grand Junction, little town out there. And this practice was just fantastic. And so we start talking to this guy about buying it almost immediately. Stage 4 cancer, couldn't practice anymore, passed away soon after, ended up selling the practice immediately to get rid of it. So then we found the practice out in Springerville, Arizona. That was just amazing. This doctor had just got divorced. He wanted to get out of town. He was selling it for a great price, and it was a really healthy, good practice. So we drove out to Springerville and looked at it, and great. I mean, everything just looked perfect. So we're like, man, let's do this. He starts drawing up paperwork. We get a phone call. Well, he had a plane, and he was a pilot, and he had crashed his plane and passed away. And so he wasn't quite divorced yet, actually. So the practice went to his wife, and she had no intention of waiting for me or selling it for the price he wanted to sell it to me for. And so that one kind of fell off. And Enterprise, during all this too, I was kind of writing letters to all the dentists in the Western United States that were 55 and older in smaller communities. Anything under 5,000, I'd write them a letter and say, hey, I'm looking for a practice. Are you going to retire in the next few years? And most of the time it was, oh, I got a nephew who's going to be a dentist, or I got a son, or I've got, it wasn't finding any luck. Well, I found a dentist in Enterprise, Utah, and I called, and the number was disconnected. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to call the city office. So I call the city. I'd never heard of Enterprise at this point. Never been here, never heard of it. So I call the city office and I said, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of the dental office, but the number's disconnected. And they're like, oh, he left several years ago. We don't have a dentist. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was the end of it. And we came out for Thanksgiving that year, and we went to St. George. And so we're 40 minutes from Enterprise. We're like, hey, let's drive up and just see what Enterprise is. We don't know anything about it. So my only interaction with Enterprise at that time is calling the city office and saying, I'm trying to get a hold of the dentist. I'm a dentist looking for a place to go. And they're like, oh, he's gone. I'm like, okay, that was it. That was the conversation. We drive up to Enterprise, and I walk in the grocery store, and somebody came up to me and said, oh, who are you? What are you? You're not from here. I said, no, I'm from, I live out in Iowa. They're like, you're not that dentist who's thinking of coming here, are you? I'm like, no, I'm a dentist, but I'm not really thinking about coming here, and they're like, okay, well, you just heard there's a dentist thinking about coming here. We go and we're checking out, and the person checking us out, where are you from? I said, oh, we live in Iowa. Oh, are you that dentist that's thinking about coming here? I'm like, no, like, what is going on? Like, this is the craziest town I've ever been to. And, so then we're like, maybe we should kind of look into it. Like, what would it take to start a practice? And I get a phone call from an orthodontist. And again, still no real contact with Enterprise. And I get a phone call from this orthodontist in St. George who said, hey, I hear you're coming to Enterprise. I want to work out of your office. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, this is so crazy. So we're like, maybe let's take another trip out and just look at Enterprise again. So we drive out, and we go into the grocery store again, and I was with my dad at this time. My wife didn't come with me, and we go into the grocery store, and just the people are just so friendly and talking and going, and we walk out on Main Street, and somebody stops and is like, "Are you John Cope?" That's my dad, and he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Whoa." And it was somebody living in Enterprise who he grew up with in Spanish Fort.
How about that?
And we're at the grocery store, and this lady's in there. And she's like, "Are you the dentist thinking of coming? Oh, come to my house for lunch." We're like, "No." She's like, "No, come." And we go, and she has a big spread of lunch set up. And we're just like, this is crazy. Get a call from the mayor, and he's like, "Hey, I want to take you around. I hear you're here. Let me take you around town." He drives us around town, and he calls me up a week later. "I found a building for you. I found a place for you to rent." And we're like, why is it that everywhere we've looked is just falling apart? And this one, we're not even trying, and it's working. And everything just fell into place. I feel really unfortunate that 4 people had to kind of die to push us this direction, that we weren't listening enough to find Enterprise on our own.
Yeah, in heaven they're going, how many guys we got to kill to get him to go there? He's not listening again.
I know.
We've already bumped 3 off. 4's a lucky number. Yeah. Oh.
So that's how we ended up here. So we did end up starting a practice from scratch, exactly what I did not want to do. I took a job in St. George because I thought there's no way I'd be busy enough, and I never even started down there. Like, it just, the people were so good and so supportive from day one, and it's just been it's been a blessing and has worked out. I mean, better than I could have ever imagined.
Wow. That's all you can say about that is like, wow, it's someone pointing you here and saying,
"Sure,
you need to come here because I got something to do later."
Yep.
You need you to be there. So let me see how many people we got to. We can laugh about it now, but back then it probably wasn't too funny.
Right? Man.
Everywhere I'm going, people are dying.
Yeah.
That's not too cool. So we're about 2 minutes from ending this one, but we can end it right now. Then we come back. Let's talk about being here and what you've done since you've been here, because you've done quite a bit of stuff. And you were the bishop here for 5 years, and in the ward, and so we can talk about that so people understand what a bishop is.
Sure.
Because a lot of people listen to this stuff, they don't have sometimes any idea what we're talking about. We have that Mormon speak thing going on.
I know we do.
And so we need to explain. So,
sure.
And then we can talk a little bit about the life and the things you've been doing here, and what the future holds for you, and some of the things that you want to do. So we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes, folks. Thank you for listening to Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show.